Alright, my delicious, delicious people. This is going to be a bit different. I have my voice changer off, and there's a very big reason for that. For one, I am not necessarily going to be doing a very uppity and jumpity video of like positivity and love. So, my voice changer is not involved in this. It's gonna be a bit of a darker tone, so buckle up because I'm about to let something very, very heavy fall off of my chest and land in your lap. But then again, if you're still here, you are ready for this, so yeah, let's begin. So, let me tell you a little bit of a story just because I need you to have a little bit of context to this. So I was a Yareli main from the beginning, day one technically. But that's not exactly where my whole situation with the frame actually started. In actuality, I was a PS3 day one player, and I will say right now, once upon a time, a little boy had this situation where his life was very, very bad. It really was not great. And the thing that I had in front of me was three evils. I could either completely and utterly give up on life, and I'm pretty sure you know what that is. I could turn to drug usage, which was another recreational thing in my area. I was in the west side of Oahu, which is called Waianae, and yes, there's a very heavy emphasis on do drugs, end your life, or the third option, which was video games. Warframe was there for me when I needed it most, and honestly, I was about to quit until I learned that DE, or Digital Extremes, has this thing where they have basically these things called dev streams and prime times. I went to my first prime time, and guess what I saw? A little segment called, I do what it was called fan art, the fan art segment. And guess what I saw? So essentially, yeah, I was a Yareli main from the beginning. Way in the beginning. My first dev stream ever. I saw the art section, and there was a cute little doll-like frame. She didn't have a name, but she was very graceful and very pretty, and I do really like China dolls, and she reminded me of a marionette or a China doll, depending on whichever one that you decide to go for. I was actually a very big fan of the Victorian style, they call it Lolita style, which is like Lolita fashion. In actuality, I will just step in there and say Lolita fashion came first. The book, which people think that Lolita is from, in actuality is very much something that came after the fashion. It is literally the derivative of Victorian fashion. I will probably put something on the screen or something just to show you what Victorian fashion is. There's actually 10 different types. I can't name them all right now, but I'll just let you go look up Victorian fashion yourself, right? And then you'll know I am very much of a fan of that. So essentially, fast forward after I spent a lot of sleepless nights waiting for dev streams just to see the artwork, just because like it was just the highlight of my life, which is like, okay, that's a bit dark, but I'll tell you right now, depending on who you are, it does get a little bit darker, so buckle up. So my PS3 broke, and then I got a PS4, and then I kind of sort of didn't play Warframe that much because I actually forgot that Warframe existed, because it actually took about a year to replace my PS4 and PS3. And then that broke, and then I got another one, and then that one I played Warframe. And then, yes, that one broke. So like I had like a situation where all my systems were breaking. During that time, I actually discovered YouTube, believe it or not. And that's where I jumped down the rabbit hole of content creators. My first video I ever saw was Warframe, How Not to Be a Shit Wukong, which I actually ended up being a sheep at the time, or a monkey at the time, as I call them, where the opinion of a creator ended up being super, super important, so I didn't touch Wukong for a really long time, because Agashi Tenno didn't like it, or Osigoshi, I don't care. Whatever. I'll name him what I want, because he's not even making content anymore. Whatever. So essentially, after a while, I ended up having this situation where I moved to Switch. And during the time I was doing Switch, I actually started making content. And during the content, I had this situation where I loved watching Nightmare Frame, I loved watching Asugashi Tenno, I loved watching everybody, honestly. And it started to get to a point where I kind of started discovering how negative they were. And it started to like wear down on me, and like I started like watching a few of them less and less and less, until I started like watching them like very, very rarely, unless I wanted information, because their quote-unquote entertainment was starting to make me start hating things, and started motivating me to do the opposite of what they said. But this is important for later, important for like a certain thing which I'll get into in the future. So essentially, I was actually about to quit making content and quit playing video games altogether. And honestly, if I didn't play video games, because I am like hella disabled, and like working is a very, very bad idea for me, because I am like not capable of holding a job. I have been proven of that through multiple attempts to do so. So I just decided to enter a bit of a zen moment of just, I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna be okay with where I'm at. And I ended up seeing something where they announced, hey, they're gonna make a K-Drive Warframe. And I was like, okay, I will say this. If it's the one I remember from a long time ago, the old artwork, then I'll be staying just to see how she is, right? And guess what they end up grading? It's actually ended up being Yareli. And they showed her animation set, and I was like, oh my god, they made Aqua. And I was like, okay, as long as she is as long as I like the way she plays. And yeah, you see how that went. So essentially, when she came out, I grabbed her immediately. I grabbed both packs, by the way. I grabbed the shit out of her. I was so excited. The frame I first saw in my first dev stream was coming out. I loved that frame already. The personality drew me as weird, but there was like this other frame that I could literally take the animation set and use that, and it was great. It was actually great for me, at least. And then the problems started, where I started watching a bunch of videos to like see how everybody else thought. And then I started realizing, oh shit, she's a little bit buggy. And I thought, oh well, they'll fix it eventually, because I know that like they tend to like have it to where we kind of help them out and fix bugs, right? The reception. Have you ever heard of subsume content? It's basically where people subsume the frame as content. That's the first video I ever watched about her. It wasn't very easy to watch. People say that games or like social things can't be traumatizing, but people gotta remember is like trauma doesn't have to be something that makes you essentially have some sort of damage to your brain, right? What it is that you associate that with you associate anything with that moment as a bad thing. You want to avoid it because it was traumatizing, right? You don't want to see it again. Very, very often I would see this content. And you might be thinking, oh, well, there was only like a few creators. It wasn't just the fucking creators, guys. It wasn't just the creators. It was friends. It was family. It was strangers. DE themselves would punish you for playing this frame. And I felt some weird little thing. I actually thought I was gonna... I don't know why I didn't quit yet. And I started thinking about it. And it's like... I think it's because I feel... hatred. Essentially, I will say right now, I'll just get straight up into it. The reason why I fight so hard is because Yareli started off as a hate pick because I hated the fact that everybody just gave up on the frame immediately, right? And the thing is that the more and more people said not to do it, the more I wanted to do it. The more and more people hated me for doing it, I hated them back, and so the more I did it. The more and more people said that they just were gonna subsume and leave, and when people would like post how they subsumed the frame and laugh at anybody who even tried and like do anything like spiteful towards people who even tried to play the frame, right? Like I said, DE even punished you for playing the frame. It was pretty bad. I mean, people don't really realize how bad it was until you realize that, actually, you know what? Just fucking play the frame. Play her in public with your voice, with your microphone off and your headphones on. And I dare you to do that for a long time and feel what I feel all the time, right? And it's like, oh, why don't you just like quit playing games? Because it seems like you just don't want to play the game. And that's like where I ended up getting into a situation where after a really, really hard moment where I kind of sort of ruined my career, which I don't think if I really recovered from, is I realized what actually drives me to do things, to fight, to keep moving, to improve, to achieve. I hate you. And you might be thinking like, oh, he doesn't hate me directly. No. See, all of that shit that happened was really bad. I would say that again. Like it was very, very to a point where like instead of just being the character that they just reamed out, it turned out to be the players themselves. I remember this really big thing that I had where I was like proud of my Yareli, right? And I was sharing her stuff and somebody said Yareli Yareli should be removed and all of the people who play her should disappear and KYS, right? And I'm like, I started to realize that after they said that, I went and I did Steel Path for 2 hours. This was actually before I lost my account. And I was like, okay, so what ended up happening is I found out that my hatred drives me, right? My hatred is a very, very big motivator and a very, very big cause of me trying so hard. The fact that friends, family, strangers, DE itself, creators, sometimes even the game itself, because you know she's very, very buggy, just punishes you for it. I end up getting very, very big resentment for all of Warframe besides the game itself, right? The game itself is pretty good. honestly, if you look at any of the games that you see that are along the lines of Warframe, like the actual amount of content that comes every single 3 months, like every 3 months you get something, a gameplay change, not just a skin, right? Warframe is great, but the community, I guess the best way to say it is that they're passionate, right? But people will share information from day one about the frame, and it's like, that was a first patch fix, you dumb motherfucker. And to clarify on the DE punishes you thing, right? The reason why I say that is, you remember when I said DE created Aqua, right? At first I blamed Pablo for that, because I heard he made her. But it turns out he was an advisor. I'm just gonna, like, not even, like, go too far into, like, a story with that one. I'm just gonna say it outright. He was an advisor, and the new team that was in charge of making her wanted to make Aqua, right? And so they were like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. We know better. We know better than you, Pablo. And they basically did the same thing I do to you guys, right? They basically spitefully did what they wanted to do, and they just did that, right? Keep in mind, the reason why I say this is because it has been confirmed that all of Yareli's current abilities are the way that they were in development, because pieces of it were actually in other people's, like, versions of the abilities. And so what actually ended up happening is that they actually did this thing where they had to take parts from already pre-made abilities that weren't finished and put it together. Like, her abilities were already, like, bare bones because they actually just wanted to make a fucking useless frame. And it's like, oh, what do you mean she's based off of Aqua? Look up her skirt. What does Aqua wear? No underwear. Every single Warframe is designed to look like they're wearing clothes. Then where's Yareli's underwear? That's like a very big thing that people don't know about that. It's like, oh, what about the stats? Yes. She had 68 armor. 75 armor gives you 20% damage reduction. She had less than that. 69 would have been better. The reason why is because it's a diminishing curve, which means she had like 10 damage reduction. 10 or 12. I don't know. But yes, she literally was a sabotaged frame, and I heard from Megan. Don't worry, I'm just having a power trip. He. Yeah, he indeed. From an insider that I know, I won't mention too much about him, but essentially, Megan learned her lesson and decided eventually they're going to gut the code of Maraluna and fix Maraluna. But the buff that she got was actually for her, like the frame. The frame got the buff. But Maraluna is about to be gutted and the code is going to be repaired. That's apparently what I have been led to believe. And that's a bit of a situation where I have spent 2 years, because it's been 2 years since she's been released, right? Trying to improve everything that I have. Like, erase the terrible, horrible person I was before to try and make myself better. Try and make myself put more effort into things. Try to make myself do better content. Try to do better in games. Try to do better in life. Because Yareli did this interesting thing. She came and kind of reminded me about why I do things, you know? Which is hatred. I don't do anything unless I hate something. And you cannot hate something unless you love something, right? That's just like a fact. And the thing is, every single time I had a very, 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 very bad time in my life, video games were there, but specifically, when it got really, really bad, Yareli was there. On the anniversary of her coming out, I actually end up having the most worst time. It happens every single time. Whenever it comes around, I think it's September or something like that. Like summertime, I believe. But Yareli has always kind of sort of been a part of my worst times and brought me out of them, right? So that's exactly why specifically I have such a big attachment. For one, I don't like it when people give up on me, right? Because everybody has my whole life. And when I saw that people gave up on the frame, I ended up attaching to the frame. Because people started demanding that you play the way they play. I ended up having this thing where people want me to do what they want to do instead of what I want to do. So I started attaching to the frame. I had a situation where people would like attack me as well as the frame and send like horrible things to me because they didn't like the frame, so they didn't like me. And then I started attaching more to the frame. So essentially it has cascaded into a situation where, because I'm fueled by hatred and all I have ever gotten from being a Yareli main is hatred, I have attached to the frame more often and more harder. And the reason why I ended up saying that why I fight so hard with Yareli is because, like, I essentially got to this point where the reason why I do better in everything is because I found out that hatred drives me. Love basically makes the hatred manifest and become stronger. And she basically taught me that in my worst moments. And eventually the game will die and she will sort of like fade out. But I will always remember the fact that hatred drives me, and the one to teach me that was Yareli. And honestly, this isn't like a thing that's like, oh, stop hating me. No. No. I've gotten to a point where I want you to hate me, right? I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to be disrespectful. I do want to be able to make my audience happy. But everybody who isn't my audience, the ones who thinks I'm crazy, the ones who thinks I'm weird, the one who thinks I'm simping for this frame because she's lolly, even though that's not what it means. The ones who think that all I do is strictly because I'm attracted to the frame, when in actuality, I have no true attraction to the frame. She is not sexy, she is beautiful to me. I'll just say right now, hate me, because you're making me want to keep moving forward. And to those who subscribe to me, and to those who do support me, just to let you know, the reason why I keep trying to make my content great is because of you. Because I want to make sure that you have something great to look at. Because I'm going to be a content creator strictly as a hobby. But if I ever want it to be seen, I want to make sure you enjoy it. The ones who truly enjoy this content, I will make sure that you get what you deserve, which is information and entertainment. That's why the Calavero video is not coming out. Because I need to wait until the 20th when he gets his full buff. That is why I have to wait at least until I get all the information in a weapon. And that is why I have to make sure I get a Talforge Blue before I show you my perfected Yareli. Perfected, not as in she can do level cap, because you have to build a specific way to do level cap. But perfected in the fact that she can do whatever you want her to do. You want to do an exterminate, you will out damage everybody. You want to do a survival, you're picking up all the fucking revenants that don't know what the fuck they're doing. Right? You want to do a spy, you get your back straight and you breathe and you calm the fuck down. You will beat a Wukong to that console. You do Profit Taker, you make sure she has a good gear, and you fuck up Profit Taker. You do Eidolons, you don't even need a buff. You go over there and you fuck up that Eidolon. And that's basically what that build is. It's perfected. And here's the thing about that. Once they gut Maraluna and replace all of its code with something that actually works, that build will be truly perfect. Because you will run into a situation where you need power, you have power. You need health, you need health. And you get it. You need speed. You literally just calm the hell down, straighten your back, breathe. And you can outrace some of the most sweaty fun motherfuckers. I have done so. They have been angry enough to report me. And DE actually told them, do not false report. Because DE Megan has learned not to sabotage a character. I give her the benefit of the doubt because I have gotten insider information. But to kind of step on some toes and probably risk a little bit of an issue, I'm going to have an extremely big problem if they ever decide it's a good fucking idea to nerf her at any point. Because she does not fucking need that right now. Ever. Your first impressions are your most important impression. And you never get a second chance. She will never be loved. She will never be liked. She will never be accepted. To those who dared to even try to, all we want is to not be punished for it. So probably directly to Megan. Do not fuck that up. If it takes testing it, you test that shit. She does not need a buff. She does not need a nerf. Nullifiers, how she used to be able to go in there and destroy them super easily, that was bad enough. And I'll probably leave it right there. And to those of you who have came into here, heard my rants, and are very, very pleased that I have gone dark as you have requested, thank you for showing up and thank you for staying. And I hope it was entertaining.